Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our morning coffee time. How is everyone this morning? We have arrived at September the 2nd. And as I said yesterday, there's increasing signs of summer transitioning into fall. One of my favorite times of year, actually. It's a beautiful mix between warm and sunny and slightly cooler nights. Something about the quality of light, too, which is changing very quickly as we change our position in the solar system. So, thank you everyone for giving me confirmation that everything's looking and sounding okay this morning. We had great difficulties this morning. First world problems, great difficulties. Our stream was not working very good. I don't know why. We've been having some intermittent internet problems that I haven't been able to diagnose. It's one of my least favorite jobs here, being the IT manager of the Hermitage house. So I'll keep working on it, but apologies to those who tuned in. It wasn't just your internet connection. Something was going on here. I kept getting repeated alerts from our system that the quality of the internet connection was not good. So there is not, I didn't archive today's. There for people to listen to later, but it left up yesterday's if you want to do a rerun and chant and sit with the monks, and hopefully tomorrow things will be better. So let's see. Also, just while everyone's logging on and arriving, a little bit more news. I see Phil's here this morning, and he came by yesterday, and he and several others have come either alone or in small groups and helped out with a bit of landscaping and helping care for the Hermitage property, which is greatly appreciated. And it's especially a nice time of year if you're looking for a quiet place to come do a little good work. So Phil came and helped do some trimming yesterday, some pruning, which is very appreciated. So, and in general, I think we're going to be with this pandemic situation for a while. So as we're moving out of summer and into fall, if you live within proximity of the Hermitage, my encouragement is to come visit now. Well, we can. We have opportunities for people to come and visit in the appropriate numbers. And while the weather is nice, we can visit with people and receive people outside, or people can sign up or join into meal offerings. Common conception when you look at our meal calendar on the website and you see a name is that it's all taken and that you need to find your own day. But we can actually have small groups of people joining together, and that's the part of the culture in our monasteries, is people join together. Absent COVID, the more the merrier. And the Buddha praised gathering with friends to do good works and gathering with friends to make offerings. So if you're inclined to come and connect with myself and the Sangha, now's the time to do it. It's going to get a little more difficult, and I'm not sure what kind of protocols we're going to be able to set up for people once the weather starts becoming cold and wet in October. So, and Ajahn Sudanto and Venerable Rikito are just here for another month as well. So if you want to come out and visit with them or pay respects, please contact the Dana coordinators, Susie and Casey, and they'll help find you a day or a slot to come visit. Returning to doing morning puja with Venerable Rikito, inspired this morning to return to this practice that I like to have of reflecting on and cultivating metta in the morning. And it's a form and a theme that I kind of developed for myself a number of years ago that I talk about from time to time. The idea of becoming a more kind and compassionate person is inspiring, but we need help and structures and practice to support that. Like everything, it's not mere wishing and wanting that gets us there. So, and we really do have to be creative and engaged in this endeavor. I don't think many people find a paint-by-number system that gets them to the kind of emotional experience or the beautiful qualities of heart that the Buddha so regularly praises. I think it does take a bit of self-knowledge, a bit of experimentation, a bit of creativity. So one of the things I came up with myself, not being all too connected with or not finding so much inspiration in some of the other forms of cultivating loving kindness, was to look to the Karaniya Metta Sutta, which is one of the canonical sources of the Buddha's teaching on the cultivation of metta. And one of the things I so appreciate about that sutta is it starts off with a list of qualities that the ideal practitioner would establish in oneself in order to thoroughly and properly cultivate or support the cultivation of loving kindness. And this is very accessible. It's like a sutta that's very popular. Many lay people, in addition to the monks, know this sutta quite well and chant it. And I know many lay friends even that know how to chant it in the Pali language. And having it well in memory makes it something that is readily accessible for contemplation. So a number of years ago, I spent some extra time really just looking at different translations and digging in and finding translations that kind of resonated with me a little more deeply to develop a reflection around these kind of qualities. There's 15 that the sutta starts off with before it goes into the teaching of a form of metta bhavana. And quite simply, what I do in the morning, oftentimes when I'm practicing this, is quickly just kind of go down through those qualities of mind or qualities of being. And for reference, you can find this in our chanting book. Sako uju suhuju suwacho chasamudu anatimani santusako subaro apakicho salahukawuti santindryo chanipako apagabo kule suananukito nachakudang samachare kinchi yena vinyu pare upawadeyung. So that's the Pali for that section of those qualities. And there are things like being able and upright, straight, very straight, receptive, suwacho, meaning one who has developed that quality to receive feedback and admonishment and teaching and guidance, or to be reproachable. Gentleness, humbleness, one who is contented and unburdensome, who lives lightly or is of few duties, one who has calmed the faculties, santindriyo, peaceful faculties, discerning or discreet, not kind of haughty or impudent, not greedy, and the last one, not doing anything that the wise would later reprove, or being impeccable. And the sutta kind of begins with a listing of these things as qualities of being, or the ideal character for one who would take up the practice of cultivating loving kindness. And then, and only then, introduce the first kind of metta reflection or metta refrain to arouse loving kindness. So if you haven't looked closely at this kind of sutta before, I encourage you to take a look at it. It's a really beautiful list of personality traits that ought to be developed in one. And both, like, recollecting them, oftentimes I'll kind of go down through the list just very slowly but consistently and get all the way through the lesson, then cycle back and then start to reflect more carefully on particular kind of qualities. Both just reflecting on the intrinsic goodness in them and reflecting on how it is that they relate to the cultivation of loving kindness, but also the broader goals of the Buddhist path of practice. And strengthening one's inspiration and resolve to be ever more perfect in those, or to more fully kind of manifest those in our life. And then also reflecting on how those very qualities create an excellent foundation in being, or in character, for living a life imbued with friendliness and loving kindness towards self and so that's the Kraniya Metta Sutta. People are interested in that. And this morning, I was thinking to take the next period of time to return to kind of doing that practice first thing in the morning before I turn to the breath. I'd like to do reflective teachings in the morning first thing before turning to the breath. And this is one of my favorite forms. If you're all too familiar with our translation that's in our chanting book, I recommend seeking out alternative translations. There's many out there. And you might even hit up the Pali Dictionary a little bit. Some of the terms are a little opaque, and it takes a bit of reading and study to maybe get a fuller sense of them. And certain changes were made to the translation that's there in our chanting book when they were developing that in England to make it easier to chant in English. So, but there are 15 qualities if one looks at the original Pali. Okay, well, let's see what is on the question board here today. I saw an early question from Eleanor, our number one questioner here. Are there any living Buddhas? Could there be a new one? And how many have existed so far? Are there any living Buddhas? Not that I know of, but it is possible. Although, I think the most orthodox Theravadan answer to that would be, it's not. I mean, it's a little bit theoretical, but there's a Sammasambuddha, which is the Buddha Gautama was a Sammasambuddha, or a fully perfected Buddha, and it takes a certain cultivation of spiritual perfections to play the role of being a fully self-awakened Buddha. And a Sammasambuddha is a fully self-awakened Buddha, and he has the spiritual perfections to be able to establish a teaching and dispensation so that others may understand the Dhamma and practice for realization. So that's one type of Buddha. There is another type of Buddha which is sometimes translated as the silent Buddha, or the solitary Buddha, the Pacceka Buddha. And this is one who, through his own efforts and without the guidance of a Buddha or an enlightened being, achieves freedom from suffering. So he becomes a Buddha independently, just as a Sammasambuddha, but he doesn't have the spiritual perfections to teach. So these are the two types of beings that can attain Buddhahood outside a time where the Dhamma is revealed and taught explicitly in the world. So the orthodox answer is there's no overlap. But what do you do about the question of somebody who might live in an overlapping time but not have access to the teachings? That's why I say there could be a living Buddha. And I'm not sure that that question's addressed in the suttas. Maybe certain commentaries address it. I'm ignorant of that. But if you think about what it means to be this silent or solitary Buddha, it seems possible there could be a living Buddha. As to how many are there and can there be a new one, there will be a new one at some point, whether one exists now or not. And the Buddha talked about previous Buddhas and future Buddhas. So, because there is suffering, and because there is the potential to experience the cessation of suffering, and that exists independent of whether or not a Buddha has arisen in the world, there have been many Buddhas, and there will be Buddhas going forward. And because of the nature of the world, Buddhas arise and Buddhas cease, just like everything else. And their teaching arises and exists for a period of time and then also ceases or disappears. But the Dhamma, essentially, exist independent of that. If there's suffering, the possibility for cessation exists. Therefore, the Dhamma persists. Ajahn Sudanto, am I missing something fundamental if walking meditation has not yet been included in daily practice? Is sitting meditation sufficient? Sitting meditation can be sufficient. It's not that you must do walking meditation. And in fact, I don't know for how long in the early part of the Buddhist Sangha, walking meditation didn't exist as a, excuse me, as a recognized, let me start again. It seems from the stories in the suttas that some period of time passed before the Buddha, with the encouragement of his doctor, even encouraged the monks to do walking meditation. And even when he does, he doesn't give any formal teaching on how it should be done. There's just a general encouragement to use movement. And that whatever posture we're in, we can develop the path, or we can put forth effort. We can meditate. Most of the time, when you see reference, though, to formal meditation or a formal practice of meditation, they're talking about sitting. But there's ample evidence in the suttas that the monks walked, and there's an allowance and an encouragement to do walking meditation, and it has various benefits, both for mind and body. So it's hard to say that you're missing something fundamental, Dave, but you are missing a whole range of movement and the ability to practice putting forth right effort and to practice meditation in one of the more common postures. So I would encourage you to investigate it and see what it might have to offer you, and find ways to integrate it into your toolbox of meditation practices. Peter, where is the question board? Do we post questions here? Yes. People have questions. You can post them in the chat. And if you could put at Pacific Hermitage, then in one of the many windows open on my screen, it highlights it in red, and it might make it easier for me to find it. I need to exercise a lot of extra effort in order to stabilize my attention on the breath. And sometimes it gets me into trance-like states. Is this okay? Well, it's hard to know exactly what you mean by trance-like states, but a lot of extra effort shouldn't be needed. Kind of persistent effort and certain quality of effort is important, Peter. So, and I encourage you to be sincere in your effort, but also kind of patient and accepting, allowing conditions to develop as the mind learns to settle down, and as you learn how to skillfully attend to your object of meditation and balance the kind of faculties of mind which make for effective meditation. So meditation should be a joy, and you should see an increasing refinement of pleasant, joyous, beautiful, conscious states of mind developing as you move into meditation. There can be a sense of timelessness, but if by trance-like you mean there's a sense of, what we would call a lack of clear mindfulness, then it might not be what the Buddha is encouraging. So there might be a sense of timelessness in your meditation, but you'll have no doubt that you have been there for the experience of it, because you are absorbed in the conscious experience of the object of meditation and the various qualities of mind that it develops. So, and energy should be increasing as we move into the meditation, and mindfulness is becoming purified as we move deeper into meditation. So look for those kind of qualities of mind as a judge. And be careful just to be sincere in your application of effort, but don't push too hard. Just cultivate the conditions and be patient for things to kind of come together. But be patient to keep returning and establishing clear awareness on the object of your meditation. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it at that for today, friends. So, wish you all well. And again, as we're in the month of September, just an encouragement, if you want to come visit the Hermitage, please make some arrangements, because I'm not quite sure what October and November are going to look like. I've been trying to sort of follow what's going on with the pandemic here in our area and thinking about how it is we'll have to arrange things in the fall and the winter. So be well, friends, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.